thank everyone for coming out today. In 133 days, Ontarians have an opportunity to bring fresh new faces and new ideas to Queen's Park to tackle the challenges of the 21st century. Ontarians are telling me that they're getting tired of professional politicians and political insiders, and it's time for change. It's time for new voices. It's time to get beyond the old ideologies, the hyper-partisanship that plagues Queen's Park, and to bring forward a vision with practical policies and sensible solutions for our communities. All three parties in the legislature have had an opportunity to govern this province over the last 2 decades. And I don't think any of them realize that times have changed. We live in a new era, a time when people have never been more connected, educated, engaged in the political process. Never before have people wanted to be a part of making the decisions that affect their communities and our province. And quite frankly, I'm tired of citizens who stand up for their communities being dismissed as NIMBYs, being dismissed for standing up and saying, you know what, we want to protect our farmland from gas plants or mega quarries. Or we want to develop our parks and farmers markets and want the bureaucratic barriers to prevent that from happening to be removed. Greens reject the old ideological boxes and the false choices that we have between tearing government apart and doing everything in a way that's big, bureaucratic, and expensive. It's time for Green MPPs at Queen's Park to put forward a policy framework and a decision-making process that engages and empowers individuals, businesses, and organizations to develop sensible, long-term solutions for our communities. Hear, hear. Our vision is to build a financially, socially, and environmentally sustainable future for ourselves, our children, and future generations. I've traveled across this province, I've consulted, and I've listened. And Ontarians have put forward pragmatic ideas and sensible solutions that we've turned into a 5-point plan for Ontario's future. And we've done it in a way that hasn't asked, what do I need to say to get elected? But has rather asked, what policies do we need to put forward to improve your lives and the lives of the members of your communities? Our first priority is to create jobs for a 21st century economy. I think the recent recession was a wake-up call to Ontarians, and that the way to move forward is to build more resiliency in our local economies and diversify our economies, first and foremost by supporting the small businesses, entrepreneurs, and family farmers that are the backbone of our local economies. We need to tackle our deficit and manage our finances in a fiscally responsible way, and we also need to address youth unemployment. So today I'm going to announce policy objectives to achieve this. First of all, the Green Party is advocating a tax cut for small businesses by raising the employer health tax exemption from $400,000 to $800,000. We're advocating so they can create and stimulate job creation in our local communities. We're advocating a deficit reduction plan that reduces our deficit in 2015, 2 years prior to the current plan, so that our hard-earned tax dollars are spent on essential public services like health care rather than interest on debt. We propose doing this by freezing spending for government programs with the exception of health care, implementing a hard wage freeze, and working with the public sector to identify outdated programs that can be removed. Secondly, we are advocating a income tax reduction by raising the exemption level by $2,000 for all taxpayers in this province, and implementing a series of tax credits to make it easier for our businesses and individuals to address rising energy prices. We will pay for this by implementing a small carbon tax of $10, modeled after the British Columbia carbon tax model that now has a 65% approval rating in the province. Finally, we are calling for a tuition freeze in the next fiscal year, and then indexing college and university tuitions at the rate of inflation to maintain the affordability of higher education in this province and to help address rising student debt loads. To address youth unemployment, we are proposing an expansion of tax credit programs for businesses that participate in apprenticeships, mentoring, and co-op education. Our second priority will be to harness safe and affordable energy to power our communities. We know Ontarians are dealing with rising energy prices, and we're not going to sit here and pander to you and offer band-aid solutions or unrealistic promises about how we address it. We don't want to repeat the past mistakes that we've made. It's clear to me that the most cost-effective and financially responsible way to address rising energy prices is to tackle the root of the problem by investing in energy efficiency and conservation to reduce energy demand in this province. The Green Party will be putting forward a green building program to assist homeowners, tenants, and businesses to retrofit their buildings to make them more energy efficient. We will end the OPA's command and control approach to conservation programs and develop a market for conservation so we can actually start using our smart meters to measure conservation and reward consumers for it, essentially paying people to save energy. On the generation side, we have important choices to make right now that will affect our sources of energy for years to come. We believe that the Liberals and the Conservatives are both making a financially irresponsible decision with their support for investment in new nuclear energy. No nuclear facility has ever come in on time or on budget in the history of this province. I may not be a political insider, but I can tell you as a small business owner, I would never invest in technology that had never been delivered on time or on budget, especially when there are affordable alternatives. First, reducing demand through conservation and energy efficiency. Second, negotiating inexpensive hydro imports from Quebec. We currently have the transmission capacity to cover 3/4 of what is produced at Darlington right now. And we can negotiate hydro imports with Manitoba once we build the grid capacity. Third, developing Ontario's hydro resources. The last energy plan had 3,000 to 5,000 megawatts of proposed hydro development in Ontario. The new long-term energy plan doesn't have that in place. Next, investing in combined heat and power. We should stop the wasteful use of natural gas in this province by turning the gas from all these big buildings and factories into electricity. And finally, a community-based renewable energy program. Again, I believe the Liberals and Conservatives are presenting us with false choices. The choice between big corporate imposition on our communities or just getting rid of green energy, period. We will put forward a community-based green energy program that ensures local ownership, local decision-making, and local benefits. Our third area of priority is access to quality health care. As many of you know, healthcare represents almost 50% of our provincial budget, and if we don't get costs under control, it'll represent 80%. The most financially responsible way to address this is to prevent the illnesses that put people in hospital in the first place. We will invest in an active transportation program for our communities. We will prioritize healthcare funding into community and family-based clinics to better manage chronic illnesses and to prevent acute illnesses in the first place. And finally, we need to tackle the challenges of our aging population by ensuring that we make the investments necessary to provide a continuum of care for our seniors by investing in home care, transition care, and long-term care facilities. Our fourth priority is to develop an Ontario food and farming strategy to ensure that all of our citizens have access to healthy local food, which is essential to maintaining health, and ensure that our family farms have the policy framework in place to be profitable and viable. We'll start with government by mandating that public institutions have buy local procurement campaigns and to put forward a comprehensive school food purchasing program. We will remove the barriers that prevent our farmers from being successful by eliminating the tax penalties for on-farm processing, value-added and value retention facilities. We will end the one-size-fits-all regulations that are putting our local food processors out of business. And we will work with farmers to compensate them for environmental goods and services that they provide society rather than regulating them out of business. And finally, we will put investments into rural infrastructure for things like local distribution hubs and marketing facilities to help our farmers get their product to market. Our final priority is to deliver government that works for people. We are going to advocate for open, transparent, and accountable government. We're opposed to backroom deals like the Samsung deal and no-bid contracts like the eHealth scandal. We will open and facilitate and make it easier for freedom of information requests and ensure that consulting contracts are published and accessible online. We will remove barriers to citizen participation by reforming the Ontario Municipal Board process, ending SLAP lawsuits that prevent citizens from engaging in land use planning decisions, and we will restore local decision-making for health care and for energy projects. And finally, we will hold politicians accountable. First of all, by taking the corporate and union money out of political campaign donations and ensuring that expenses are posted online. I get sick of every time I'm in question period when there's always this debate around who's posted their expenses and who haven't. Let's just get them up there so Ontarians know where their tax dollars are being spent and what for. I believe this election is going to be about change. It's going to be about bringing new voices, new ideas, and fresh perspectives to Queen's Park. It's going to be about bringing people here who are not professional politicians and political insiders. It's going to be about bringing people here who are going to advocate for community-based solutions. You know, some people say it's risky releasing your platform 133 days before an election, because in politics things can change in 2 or 3 days. But it's clear what we believe in, it's clear what we stand for, and we are going to take our vision to every community and every riding in this province, and we will break through and elect green MPPs on October 6, 2011. Thank you.